What's up, y'all? Welcome back to BNN Reactions. Today we're looking at Adult Sakura versus Madara by Swagkage. So let's go ahead and get it started.
Money making season and being broke is treason.
All right. So real quick, I know I've said some stuff about Sakura in the past and also said some stuff about Madara in the past that are kind of incompatible with what I'm going to be saying in this video. I get it. Okay. I don't believe all of those things anymore. Let's not bring them up. All right.
He changed his mind about Sakura?
Another thing, actually, two things, not just one. Just hear me out. Just hear me out for a second. So, could Sakura beat Madara? Well,
no.
It depends. And I don't mean on like where they fight or what intel each one of them has or whatever. I don't care about any of that. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, maybe it'll come up later, but like the important thing is which version of each character we're talking about. I talked about this on Twitter with a couple people, and I don't feel like I should have to say this, but just to be safe, I mean, like you got some free time. Like, don't get on to me for stating the obvious. Like, you don't like you got somewhere to be or something. All right,
I do got somewhere to be.
Sakura is not the same as this Sakura. Okay?
Yeah.
This Sakura is not the same as this Sakura. None of these Sakuras are really even similar, like, at all, especially if we're talking about combat ability. It's the same thing as, like, this Madara and this Madara aren't the same, and neither one is the same as this Madara, who isn't the same as this Madara either. So the reason I say all of this is because I want everybody to know better than to, well, let's use an analogy, actually, right? If this Madara could throw a rock, let's say 69 meters, and for whatever reason, in a hypothetical fight with, say, Jirobo, Madara needed to be able to throw a rock at least 55 meters. Well, in this case, it would be pretty fair to assume that this Madara, and especially this Madara, would be able to clear the 50-meter rock throwing challenge.
Yeah.
On the other hand, let's say we knew Jirobo's rock throwing record was 75 meters. And for whatever reason, part of their deathmatch involved a rock throwing competition. I don't know how the outcome would affect the fight, but, you know, just play along, all right? It wouldn't really be fair, I'm sure you would agree, to say, well, see, man, I don't think Madara can do it because his record is 69 meters, Jirobo's is 75. It seems pretty clear because obviously it would be fair to assume that Madara had gotten stronger since then. So what I'm trying to say is it's fair to bring up feats that belong to a weaker version of a character when talking about a stronger version of them if you're using them to establish what the stronger version of that character should be capable of at the bare minimum. It's a little bit different to use anti-feats or limits ascribed to weaker versions of a character to try and say that a stronger version of that character shouldn't be capable of something, right? And let's add something else to the analogy too. Let's say we swap out Adult Madara for Kid Madara in the Jirobo fight, but we still have the rock throwing competition, right? It wouldn't really be fair to say that Madara summoned a meteor from outer space, so he should be able to throw a rock 62 miles. Now, if you're still with me here, and we both agreed with everything that I just said, then we should also be willing to agree that if I say Adult Sakura, like from Boruto, could beat Madara, like the one that fought Hashirama in the Final Valley with the 9 tails. Stuff like this shouldn't really, this shouldn't be relevant, right? Like, we can ignore this because Boruto era Sakura is a lot stronger than the Sakura that's getting handled in this image, and the Madara that's giving her the business is a lot stronger than the Madara we're talking about in this fight. So this, totally not indicative of how this fight would turn out at all. All right, so now that all that's out of the way.
Not really, but kind of.
These two.
It kind of is.
Madara, I don't really think I have to talk about him that much, or better yet, at all. I think my bases are covered there. I've talked about Madara pretty extensively in older videos, so we can mostly skip him for now, though I think most people would agree that we probably need to establish like some point of reference for him. Otherwise, no amount of discussing Sakura's abilities will really matter, because like we won't have an idea of what Madara could do. So I think we can all agree that Kaguya is stronger than Valley of the End Madara. Don't think that
Valley of the End? Yeah.
Now, Sakura did damage Kaguya like with a regular punch, and you can make all sorts of excuses for Kaguya here if you want, but
doing damage, anyone could have did damage though. That's not necessarily a big feat. Anyone could damage her, but can you defeat her? Can you, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Mike God could damage her, Rock Lee could damage her, Tsunade could damage her. Does that put them on the same level as Kaguya? No. It just means that they could damage her. It's not exactly the same thing.
And you can make all sorts of excuses for Kaguya here if you want, but the fact still remains that...
Because this isn't like... Naruto isn't like Bleach, where if you're not as powerful as the person in Bleach, you don't damage them at all. That Naruto isn't like that. Naruto has never been like that. Like in Bleach, Kenpachi is so strong that if a lower level Soul Reaper tries to attack him, he won't feel it. But that's in Bleach. That doesn't happen in Naruto. That type of stuff doesn't happen in Naruto. Anybody can really damage anyone if you catch them off guard, or if you hit them with an attack. You can still damage somebody. So
sorts of excuses for Kaguya here if you want, but the fact still remains at the end of the day that she did seem pretty hurt by one of Sakura's punches. And this isn't like a Goku getting damaged by a ray gun situation, because it's illustrated. Well, I mean, like, first of all, that's Dragon Ball rules anyway, so it's not really like applicable to Naruto. But even then, even if we did assume that these two universes operated in the same way, Goku was clearly stated to be off guard in that situation, and I don't mean like a little bit surprised, like he was totally relaxed. Whereas Kaguya here was in the middle of fighting for her life against Naruto and Sasuke, and she'd just been damaged by Kakashi too. Like, there's really no reason to assume that she's not using chakra to defend herself. Now, I'm not saying that Sakura could beat Kaguya one-on-one. That would obviously be ridiculous.
And then her durability has nothing to do with her power, like her attack potency.
Damaged Kaguya, especially when you're comparing her to somebody like Madara. Kaguya was blatantly stated to be strong.
She could be a glass cannon.
Madara. Whether you think she'd actually beat him in a fight, kind of irrelevant here. Her like raw chakra power level was higher than Madara's was. And again, that Madara was way stronger than the Madara we're talking about here, and Sakura managed to hurt her, at least enough to cause her to flinch and keep her from doing anything that could have protected her from Naruto and Sasuke sealing her with Chibaku Tensei. So, now that we got all these facts laid out on the table, I personally think it's fair to infer from these facts that Sakura would probably be capable of damaging Madara too, unless you really
damaging him, yes,
give Kaguya like every benefit of the doubt.
They're not beating
Sakura,
him.
The very same one that damaged Kaguya is significantly weaker than the Sakura that we're talking about in this fight, because there's a whole lot of time between the Kaguya fight and the Boruto era, and over the course of the time skip, everyone seems to have received some pretty crazy power-ups. Like, okay, whether you like it or not, Kinshiki and Momoshiki should, at the very least, even if you lowball them, be somewhere around Kaguya's level. They were described as potentially greater threats than her, so I think at the bare minimum, they've got to be somewhat comparable to her, right? And then it's like, even after that is established, characters that aren't Naruto or Sasuke, characters without Six Paths powers, just fight them. And I don't know about you, but to me it looked like they were doing okay. Right, like it seems like we have a sort of Dragon Ball Super situation on our hands here, where, I don't know, Krillin or Tien could beat Super Buu, right? Like, it doesn't feel correct, and it probably shouldn't be true, but clearly It is. And for anybody who might be thinking, well, that's the 5 Kage. Why would Sakura have received a similar power-up? Well, there are other examples of things like this. A really good one being Shikamaru locking down Kinshiki with shadow possession. Even if that doesn't do it for you, Sakura is directly compared to Gaara in the Gaara Hiden novel. And to paraphrase that book, what it basically says is that most medical ninja can't match somebody who's on like Gaara's level with their taijutsu, but Sakura was a notable exception. Whether you like it or not, when you have confirmation that Sakura's on the same level as some guy who was keeping up with another guy who was able to blow through the majestic attire Susanoo, I just don't know how I can say a good fit.
This is a better argument.
Stronger than Madara.
In the first part.
Now, you don't have to rely completely on the fact that Boruto has wacky power scaling if you want to argue that Sakura could beat Madara, but it's definitely the least controversial reason you could provide. There's other stuff like her fight with Shin, the fact that Kishimoto strongly implied that she was at least catching up to Naruto and Sasuke, yada yada yada. But I don't want to get into anything else here. The video's already gonna make enough people mad, so I will just stick with she punched Kaguya. Kaguya seemed pretty hurt. Then she got way more powerful over like 10 years or whatever. So in conclusion,
again, I will say just because you damage Kaguya, it doesn't really mean too much. Naruto doesn't operate on the fact that if I'm more powerful than you, you can't damage me. They don't operate like that, so.
Way more powerful over like 10 years or whatever. So in conclusion, I'm not gonna say that Sakura could beat Madara, but what I will say is if she walked up to him and punched him, even if he like had the whole Susanoo thing going on, whatever, I don't really care what sort of defensive measures Madara takes. No matter what, if he stands there and lets her punch him, yeah, he'll probably die.
Yeah, that's not the same as defeating him in battle though. That's just a durability feat. People in Naruto have strange durability. Like most ninja can hurt other ninjas, so their durability be kind of weird. But their power, like their attack power, be off the charts. But yeah, y'all, that was Adult Sakura vs. Madara by Swagkage. If you like the video, leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Trying to get to 1,000 subs. And yeah, I'll see y'all on the next one. I'm out.